First impressions are incredibly important. Imagine if you had just started a new job and turned up on the first day severely hungover with dribble and kebabs splattered all down your shirt. Anyway, that's enough about my first day at What Culture. Let's talk about some wrestlers. The following 10 wrestlers were all massively unpopular at some point in their careers, only to turn things around and win the adulation of the audience. Whether they changed up their look, gimmicks, or in-ring style, fans changed their minds on these 10 wrestlers, and thank God they did. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 beloved wrestlers who fans initially hated. Join us. Number 10, Goldust. In terms of divisiveness, few characters have ever come close to Dustin Rhodes' portrayal of Goldust. A face-painted, overtly sexual, gender-fluid embodiment of Hollywood, Goldust used every trick in the book to get heat upon his debut in 1995. Most of those tricks involved gay panic, which would absolutely not fly today, but this was the mid-90s, it was the style at the time. For one reason or another, fans did not like Goldust. Whilst many admired Dustin's commitment to the character, he was nobody's favourite wrestler, despite his long list of achievements. That all changed when Rhodes came back to WWE in 2002 and began teaming with Booker T. Their odd couple chemistry endeared Booker and Goldie to the fans so much that they scored a World Tag Team Championship reign out of this pairing. Since then, Goldust has evolved time and time again, until Dustin found perhaps his greatest success as himself in AEW. He has rightfully taken his place as a cherished veteran of the sport, but things could have gone very differently if it wasn't for those backstage skits where Goldust dressed up as Darth Vader. Number 9, Braun Strowman. Whilst his recent antics might have soured a lot of folks on him, it is important to remember that there was a time when we all loved the monster among men. Braun Strowman first appeared on our screens in 2015 as an addition to the Wyatt family. The Black Sheep was quite frankly a lumbering oaf who had hair like he'd been electrocuted and a constant look of, "Is this where I'm supposed to be?" on his face. However, come the second brand split, fans were treated to a very different version of Braun. On the July 25th, 2016 edition of Raw, Strowman made his way to the ring with a very different look. He had gotten into amazing shape, trimmed his beard, and gotten a trendy new haircut. More importantly, he had also completely changed up his in-ring style, matching his insane power with freakish agility and speed. Seemingly overnight, Braun went from petrified tree to unstoppable behemoth, and fans were delighted. This led to his excellent feud with Roman Reigns, his performance at SummerSlam 2017, and his time in the main event scene. If only he had stayed off Twitter, maybe some people would still like him. Number 8, Britt Baker. Hated might be a strong word for how fans felt towards Britt Baker during the early days of AEW, but they were definitely not thrilled about how she was treated as their poster girl. The Doctor became the first woman to sign with AEW in early 2019 and was pushed hard as a babyface. Unfortunately, Baker didn't really connect with the crowd as a hero, and it also didn't help that a concussion caused her to try and tag in the wrong person at Fight for the Fallen. Wrestling fans don't care whose fault it is. If there's a botch, they will laugh. Things took a step in the right direction when Baker turned heel in early 2020. She began to berate Tony Schiavone, mostly because he used to work in a Starbucks, and slowly started to win fans over with her heelish charisma. This all paid off at Double or Nothing 2021, when Baker captured the AEW Women's Championship. Despite being the heel, the audience went absolutely bonkers for Baker's win, as she had become one of the biggest stars in the entire company. I guess you could say she fought tooth and nail for their acceptance. I'll see myself out. Number 7, Santino Marella. Whilst he may not have been the greatest in-ring talent of all time, Santino Marella excelled at comedy wrestling. With an Italian accent thicker and faker than 20 slices of American cheese, Santino debuted for WWE as a fan selected by Vince McMahon to take on Umaga for the Intercontinental Championship. In a shock twist, he actually beat the Samoan Bull bulldozer thanks to a huge assist from Bobby Lashley. This earned him the belt and the nickname the Milan Miracle. Unfortunately, this mega push combined with Santino's lack of character led to fans turning hard on the new champion. After losing the title back to Umaga, Santino underwent a change in personality from serious competitor to serious goofball. It all started when he took issue with Steve Austin's performance in the upcoming film The Condemned. This is the moment performer Anthony Corelli started to play up the broken English parts of Santino's character, resulting in plenty of hilarious imitations of Austin's famous catchphrases. Once Santino turned to the comedic side, there was no going back, and the fans absolutely lapped it up. He was never taken seriously again, which isn't as bad as it sounds in this case. Number 6, The New Day. Our only group entry on this list, the difference between how this team were perceived in their early days versus how they're seen now is night and day. Night and New Day, that is. Haha, yeah. Formed off the back of all three men going on losing streaks, Big E, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods first appeared as the New Day in 2014. Under a sort of gospel gimmick, the trio started promoting the power of positivity in promos so sickly sweet they could rot your teeth. Fans hated this act, booing it heavily whenever they got the chance. But that all changed when the New Day turned heel in 2015 and began embracing the more ironic side of their slogan. And nobody could have predicted what came next for the group. Through catchphrases, unicorns, trombones, cereal boxes, pancakes, booty, and more, the New Day became one of the best acts in the company and one of the greatest stables of all time. They were so over his heels that they had to turn face again in 2016, and they've never looked back. The idea of them ever going bad again seems ridiculous these days, which is mental when you think about where they came from. Number 5, Jay White. Two-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Leader of the Bullet Club. Owner of one of the best goatees in wrestling history. Switchblade Jay White has done it all and shows no signs of slowing down. However, it was a very different situation when White returned to New Japan in 2016 following his excursion to Ring of Honor. He was immediately put into a program with Hiroshi Tanahashi, and fans struggled to accept that the young Kiwi was on the same level as the Ace. His mega push continued with wins over the likes of Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada until White finally toppled Tanahashi for the IWGP title in 2019. Many assumed that White was just a placeholder, a Kenny Omega stand-in after the cleaner decided to leave New Japan for AEW. And you know what? They would be right, as White lost the belt to Okada just 54 days later. White was pushed too hard too soon, but he has now matured into one of the best heels in the world. Confident, cocky, and with the skills to back up his words, Switchblade might have started off dull, but now he's razor sharp. Number 4, Triple H. For the longest time, the only game Triple H was interested in playing was the "how many promising young wrestlers can I keep down this month" game. Between 2002 and 2005, Trips had a stranglehold on the main event title scene of Raw. The World Heavyweight Championship was pretty much surgically grafted to his waist, with promising talent like Booker T, Rob Van Dam, and Goldberg all sacrificed to the Reign of Terror. Through his marriage to Stephanie McMahon, Hunter earned himself a reputation as a backstage politica supreme, intent on keeping himself at the top by any means necessary. Who would have thought that all it would take was 3 little letters for fans to change their minds on the King of Kings? NXT. Triple H took what was a campy reality game show and turned it into a breeding ground of fresh new stars and exciting imports from the independent scene. Honestly, NXT put on some of the finest wrestling in the land between 2012 and 2018, and Triple H got a sizable chunk of the credit for it. Don't get me wrong, he deserved that credit. It's just funny how quickly we forget things sometimes. Number 3, John Cena. Chanting "John Cena sucks" to the man's entrance music might be done in good faith today, but there was a time when fans were deadly serious about the man in the luminous shirts. Initially adored as a white boy rapper, Cena's perception in the eyes of the fans changed almost as soon as he became WWE champion in 2005. Gone was everything that made him cool and edgy, replaced with a can-do positive attitude so manufactured you could smell the plastic residue through your screen. Cena became everything WWE fans hated about the company, a corporate corporate shill who was there to sell wristbands more than anything else. However, that all changed once he won the United States Championship at WrestleMania 31. Through his US Title Open Challenge, Cena put on the best match every single week with some of the best new talent around. Yeah, he still beat most of them, but they were elevated as a result, and this was a far cry from the Cena of old. Now Big Match John is seen as an elder statesman, someone who is willing to take time out of his movie schedule to pop in for a match and put someone over. And he's not the only Hollywood name on this list. Number 2, The Rock. Before his net worth and muscle mass were the size of Germany's, Dwayne the Dwayne Dwayneson was one of wrestling's biggest stars. The Rock was arrogant, he was nasty, a bully who would put people down with zingers so severe that some people have never recovered from them. And the fans absolutely ate it up. However, before he was a staple of the Attitude Era, Rock looked and acted very differently indeed. Debuting at Survivor Series 1996, Rocky Maivia was a happy-go-lucky babyface who just wanted everyone to have a nice time. Fans, of course, hated it, and they let everybody know. Chants of "Die Rocky Die" routinely filled arenas when Maivia performed. No amount of matches or championship reigns could persuade people to cheer for the young star, so he was forced to turn to the dark side. Turning heel was the best thing The Rock ever did, and I'm including singing "You're Welcome" in that list. If he never got to show off his bewitching promo skills as a baddie, then there would have been no feud with Austin, no multiple world title reigns, no Tooth Fairy. That is not a world I want to live in. Number 1, Roman Reigns. Like cousin, cousin. Although they were much more hesitant to do so, WWE inevitably discovered that Roman Reigns' true calling was as a nasty mob boss. After years of being shoved down our throats as the blue-eyed babyface WWE desperately wanted, Reigns returned at SummerSlam 2020 as the brutish, sadistic killer we all knew he could be. This return quickly evolved into the Tribal Chief gimmick, which brought Paul Heyman, then the Usos, then Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa into the fold. Reigns' heel turn allowed WWE to build one of the best stables in years with the Bloodline, which has been responsible for some of the biggest and best moments and matches of the 2020s so far. We all knew that this was what Reigns was capable of. We had seen glimpses of it in The Shield and were desperate for cool Roman to come back, but WWE just would not stop force-feeding us their squeaky clean image of the big dog. The difference between Roman's reception at WrestleMania 31 and WrestleMania 37 is unbelievable. In 6 years, he went from a hated hero to a revered godlike villain, and thank goodness he did. Let's just say his former incarnation was anything but oozy.